Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7. I'm back with a track guide for this week's current daily race C, driving at Brands Hatch in Group 4. For the guide, I'm using the Megane. Now this isn't going to necessarily be the best car for your time trial, but it's definitely going to be, I think, one of the best cars in the race conditions. So I did my lap in this. This car's probably got a potential of about a 28.4, which isn't going to be fast enough to beat the four-wheel drive cars, unfortunately. However, I don't like four-wheel drive cars. I tried a lap or two, turned it off straight away, got back in the Megane, did this lap. Hopefully it'll help you out. I'm sure there'll be other people in a similar situation as me. They really don't like driving them four-wheel drive cars. But the Megane, really fun car to drive, rotation great. In the race, really strong. So hopefully this guide can really help you out in race pace. If it doesn't help you out that much in time trial, it should really help you out in the race pace. But I managed to get a 1 minute 28.7. There was a few mistakes in there, so 28.5 should be possible if I pushed it with this car, which still would be getting beat by the four-wheel drive cars. But anyway, let's get on with this guide, try and give you some tips and try and help you out. So one thing I'll say, in the race conditions when you're saving fuel, just make sure you shift before the end of the rev range, just a little bit before. Continuously with mixture 1 should be good for fuel for the whole race doing that. So going into turn 1, we're going past the number 2 board, and right in the middle almost of the 2 and the 1 board, we're going to get onto the brakes, and we're going to try and widen the line. And you can see staying wide, the ghost in front staying wide, then you're throwing it into this apex, and you really want to get the right hand tire to clip the curb. You see the car in front, that's my ghost, clips the curb almost perfectly. I slightly miss it on this lap. You can see slightly miss the apex. That means I run a little bit wide here on the exit, but just about get away with it because there's that little bit of green Astro you can run wide on. Now using the next braking zone, we use the Palmer board and also the shadow on the floor. You can see it there as we come up to the board. You can see the shadow on the brakes almost at the start of the shadow there, right at the front of the shadow. And we're going to go down through the gears. Now I really try and hold the car as close to the apex as possible on this corner. It's something I've always done. Nice narrow line, keeping the car to the right hand side, and then try and rotate the car with a bit of throttle. So you can see onto the throttle aggressively, rotate that car in second gear, power out the corner, upshift to third gear, and then work your way down into this next left hand corner, which I use the curb on the right hand side as kind of a reference. We're going to brake before that, so you can see quite a bit before we get to that curb, we're going to get on the brakes as we play at normal speed. Now you can see there onto the brakes before the curb, and you're really going to try and widen the line through this corner because you want to carry the exit speed. So you see off the brakes and then on the throttle just before we get to that curb on the left hand side, and then power your way out the exit and all the way into this another very tricky left hand corner. So I use the number 1 board on the right hand side. If that's ever missing, you've also got the barrier change there on the right hand side. You can use that as a reference. And now you're going to start getting on the brakes just past that number 1 board. Now this corner is very tricky. There's multiple lines. I like to get it down into third gear, let it start rotating, and try and get on the power and bring it into the apex as close as possible. If you get this right, you can gain a lot of time. You can see you've got to try and get as close to that curb, but on the power very early. You can see I got a lot of good exit speed on the Ghost, but I ran wide up there. And on my go on this lap, I didn't carry as much speed as I would have liked on entry. So there is a better way of doing that if you can carry a bit more speed, but we do it reasonably okay. And now we're going to work our way into this really long right hand corner. Now you're using the number 1 board, braking in between the 2 and the 1. You can see the braking input going in there. We're going to really try and carry the speed through the corner. So down to 4th gear, let the car almost coast for a second, then onto the throttle aggressively as you feel the car getting close to that curb. If you get it right, you can really hug that curb and carry a lot of speed through this corner. Use a little bit of curb on exit, and now work your way into the next right hand corner. Now be careful of the glitch curb through here. It is possible to spin the car very easily. Use the number 1 as a braking reference. I brake in between the 2 and the 1. That I always use the 1 though as kind of a reference. And then over the curb here, you can really attack this curb, but this is a curb you have to be a bit careful on because it will spin you. So attack the curb onto the throttle. You see a little lift of the throttle as we go over the curb, just helps stabilize the car, and then keep the power down all the way on the exit. And now you're heading into the almost blind right hand corner, which I use the number 1 board on the right hand side there. Now again, you're going to rotate the car in and really cut some of this corner off. You can see staying in 4th gear as we attack the corner. You can see how much corner we're taking off with the line we're on. You can really be aggressive with the track limits on that corner, but try and get on the throttle as early as possible to carry the speed out the exit. Not perfect by myself there, but not too bad. Again, for this left hand corner, we're going to brake just short of that number 1 board. Again, you can see the 1 board on the right hand side, braking inputs going in down to 3rd gear. Now the important thing here is to get on that throttle as early as you can. The earlier on the throttle, the more exit speed you're going to carry out of this corner. Now you can see I take a bit too much of a tight line and we run slightly wide there over the grass, lose a tiny bit of speed, but it's not terrible. Now we're working our way into the final right hand corner. Again, use the number 1 board. Now there is 2 different lines. You can actually use a bit of grass for rotation here. I'm not going to do that on this lap. The Ghost does, but on this lap I'm going to stay to the racing line and try and get it close to the apex, and then on the throttle nice and early as you're pretty much dead on that apex. You can see the Ghost in front is where I used the purple line. So my Ghost, I used a bit of grass, and you can see the time gained by doing that, almost a tenth of a second by just using that grass on the exit. So in qualifying, using that grass is going to gain you a lot of time, just like it did on GT Sport, so factor that in. But let's take a watch of that lap from chase camera, and you're going to really see what I mean about using the full width of the track on this track. You can see how close we get to the edge of the track a lot of time. Through here you can see almost into the gravel there, then into the braking zone, braking dead on that shadow, nice and tight through here. You can see keeping it nice and narrow, onto that throttle for rotation. You can see as we get on the throttle, you can really see the Megane rotate through there. Same for the race. Very similar tactic in the race conditions. The only thing you're going to do different in the race is you're going to shift a little bit earlier. See how I'm revving this out a bit more? You're going to shift basically a couple of centimeters before the end of the rev range, and just leave it at mixture 1. You don't need to use mixture 2, 3, whatever. You can just leave it at mixture 1. Just gentle short shifts, and this car will not lose hardly any race pace at all. So again, working our way at the end of this straight, you can see this corner, very important as well. You can gain a lot of time if you get this right. Using the full width on the entry into the corner, clipping the apex curb, using a bit of curb on the exit there, and then again, this is all about cutting that track a little bit. You want to really get the car over that curb. Be careful on the exit also there. There's another glitch curb, I think, on the exit of that corner. And then again, for this right-hand corner, attack. You can really attack that curb. And be careful not to run on the grass on the exit. You can see how close we was on the exit. Again here, this is where we made a little bit of an error, ran on the grass but got away with it. And then working our way into this final corner, you can see I don't go anywhere near the grass on this lap, but you can do it and then get that tyre to rotate through the corner, and you can carry insane amount of speed if you get it right by using that grass. So for time trial, you might want to practice that, but for race, definitely I would advise sticking to the tarmac really. But we go over the line there, 1 minute 28.7. Not a particularly amazing lap, but it should be solid enough to help you out in time trial if you're going to use them again. If not, it will definitely help you out in the race. Thanks again for watching. I'll be back with more of these. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you all soon. Bye everyone.